This is a walkthrough for teachers of what the default settings will be once you first make your copy of this instructional Google form. When it first opens up, you will see that beneath the place that I have review instructional videos that you can feel free to delete if you want to. They are easily deleted by clicking on the material and then hitting the little garbage can button. So you can always get rid of that if you want. And the only questions that are mandatory by default, and you can tell that they're mandatory because of the red stars, are the last name, the first name, and the period. Once you scroll down to the actual content questions, they are not made mandatory. I do that because I frequently assign this for homework and give kids an opportunity to submit partway done and then go back and finish it. You can very easily change that setting by clicking on the question and by clicking on that required button right there. And anytime you flip that little switch, that means that now the student cannot go down to the submit button and submit without that question being completed. I also have by default settings that it automatically collects email addresses and it always sends a receipt of every response. And I do that because after a lot of time of using these Google Forms, there always end up being issues after the fact where kids say, oh, I know I did it. They know right away to look for the confirmation email that says that they did it, and then they know to contact me immediately if there's some kind of a problem and not days later once they should have already done it. Also, by default, I leave unchecked the fact that students from my particular school district have to be signed in with their school emails. If you're going to make a copy of this form using your school email, chances are good that you'll have some kind of a setting like that as well. And it's up to you whether you want to leave that unchecked like it will be by default or whether you'd like to check it. I teach high school, so a lot of my students are older and have Gmail addresses that they use outside of their school email. And as long as I have some kind of contact information for them, I really don't care. The other setting that is done by default is limit to one response. And I'm going to show you in just a second why I choose to do it that way. And under the quiz tab, you'll see that every single time the student submits, that they will see what questions they miss, but they don't see what the correct answer was. And so I'm going to move to a student view so that you can see why I've decided to do it that way. So I'm a student, I've put in my email address, I've put in my name, my period, and I'm getting ready to start question number 1, but then mom calls me for dinner. In order to not worry about losing any data or say I'm halfway through it, we want to make sure that nothing happens to the Google form in between. I can scroll down to submit. And when I go back to Google Classroom or whatever platform it is that I'm using to take this quiz, because the setting said limit to one response, if I click back on the assignment, it'll say that I've already recorded a response, and then I'll be able to hit this edit your response button so that way I can just pick up exactly where I left off. I do that so the kids don't have to start all over again once they're partway through. But there's the obvious issue that, what if they just randomly put things in? If you click view score, that's why I have it set so that they can see which ones they missed, but they can't see the correct answers, so that they don't see what the correct answers were until later when I give that key to them in another fashion.